Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast show. I'm your host, Jonathan Frederick, and I am glad you're here. On this show, I talk with industry-leading experts about connecting with others, impacting your niche, and striving to live the best life possible. It's all about sparking meaningful conversations around business ownership and entrepreneurship. The Heart Healthy Hustle Show is about finding connection with proactive peers and navigating a healthy work life with full autonomy. So whether you're driving to or from work right now, exercising, eating, or just relaxing, come hang out and get ready to enjoy another inspiring episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. All right, guys, welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. I'm your host, Jonathan. Today's guest, Brandon Lewis. He's a personal trainer, online coach, race organizer, and a powerlifter with several Virginia state records through the USPA. Brandon.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For all the listeners who are doing personal training, maybe they're studying exercise science, they're in college, or maybe they're running a gym right now, whatever it may be, we're going to have an awesome conversation tonight. We both just worked out. Before the show, we were talking, and I worked out before, just got done an awesome workout, and I know Brandon did as well. So we both got the endorphins going.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Brandon's favorite success quote or saying you live by, and share what that means to you and why it works for you on the motivational level.
Yeah, so one of my favorite quotes, especially currently, is true success is overcoming the fear of being unsuccessful. That's by Paul Sweeney. Whatever your goals are, be it fitness or a personal life, a lot of times people get consumed in the fact that they're not going to achieve their goals, or while they're working towards their goals, they face failure. But if you know that that's going to happen, from then it's just a matter of overcoming that. And it's going to happen. Failure is inevitable. It's just a matter of not being frightened by that, being afraid to press on from that point.
Great quote. Appreciate you sharing that. And I'm going to ask, what's two of your favorite comfort challenges? These may be things that you make yourself do, whether you're on the job, off the job, just everyday life.
Yeah, so this is one that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I'm on my phone all the time, either emailing clients, texting online clients, things involving the race organization, or just general conversation. So, of course, that piece of not having that phone, that feeling of having it, in a public space kind of creates that awkwardness. For me, sometimes, I'm willing to say, hey, I'm going to leave the phone in the gym when I work out. Or if I'm going to Starbucks or something like that to work on something on the computer, I'll leave my phone in my bag and not touch it. That challenges you and teaches you to detach from something you're so accustomed to being attached to. Another comfort challenge would be, again, this is something that I'm sure that fitness people can relate to, is being too tired to go to the gym. As ironic as that sounds, you would think, someone that's a personal trainer, online training coach involved in fitness, how would that be possible? And I explain it this way. A lot of people use the gym as their outlet, their stress reliever at the end of the day, kind of their getaway. But when you're in that environment all day, it's kind of hard to find that as a getaway. So for me, I work out at a different gym that I train at. That kind of helps me get in a different environment. And if it's a day that I'm too tired to work out, I just intentionally pass my exit to go home so that I have to go to the gym at that point. And if I really need an extra push, I will go ahead and write down my workout before I go in so that I have to follow it. Yeah. And that kind of gets me out of that comfort challenge with that.
Yeah, I like your first one, especially with just leaving the phone behind. If you don't think that sounds like a comfort challenge, then you have a good self-esteem level, like very good, or you just don't use your phone that much as it is, which good on you for that. But I know what you mean by that. Sometimes I'll choose to take the more present route and look around my environment, be aware of the smells, the sounds, the sights, and just soak it in. Keeping your phone away really does push you to be in that present. That's definitely something I am noticing as a trend with folks that I'm interviewing and with myself, is that the achievers and the strivers are people who they don't have superhuman abilities. They're very much just like any other person. The main things that separate them from just the average person is the ability to put themselves under a stressful situation, whether that be intentionally skipping your exit because you don't feel like going to work out that day, but if you make yourself pull into that spot and park the car at the gym, you'll get out and you'll go work out. That is such a key thing I've been noticing as a trend with my guests is you have the ability to push yourself to be in an uncomfortable situation and be okay with that, because that's maybe the only way you actually will get that workout done. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And, when you finish that workout, you feel so much better. And those days that you don't push yourself to be out of that comfort level to get that workout in, you feel like you've missed out on something. Like, man, I could have got that workout in. I do have extra time. I would have felt better, especially if you're getting ready for something important like a competition or a vacation, or just trying to achieve, your general goals. later that night, I guarantee if you want it bad enough, you're going to sit there and think, man, I missed that workout. I could have got it in. I made an excuse. So I definitely think, like you said, just getting in there and pulling that parking spot. You're already there then. There's no point in turning around.
I love that. One of the main reasons I've fallen even more in love with fitness over time is because it applies to business, it applies to life and life goals. You can look at fitness as a separate category of your life, but in fact, it integrates perfectly with goal setting, with achievement, with discipline. And without discipline, you're not going to have any kind of successful business, period. But
yeah.
That fitness, and when we say fitness, you and I both weightlift a lot. I do some bodybuilding, but mostly just weightlift and try to stay symmetrical and balanced and physically fit. Whether that be Pilates, if you're into maybe go to a yoga class, maybe you go for runs, whatever that is. Getting that endorphin rush, getting that hit of cardio, that session, whatever it is, that is so crucial to facilitating your business and your life. I want to touch on there actually doing the work, right? Let me ask you this. I really want to hear your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on this? It's a quote. In order to get physically in shape, in order to get fit, in order to build muscle, let's say that's your goal, is to build muscle mass. You have to actually do the work. You have to actually lift the weight. Have you ever heard it put that way before?
Yeah, and that's the workout won't work out unless you work out. And it sounds super redundant, super, elementary, but it's the truth. You're not going to get stronger if you don't pick up heavier weights. You're not going to become more functional if you don't work on functional fitness. You're not going to become more flexible if you're not doing things like Pilates towards your goals, whatever it may be. Oh, so I definitely agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
I absolutely love that because it's so applicable. That was like the missing link for me personally between integrating my fitness discipline and mentality into building a business or starting this podcast, is that you have to actually do the work. So when I go into the gym, that's why you hear things from fitness experts or your personal trainer where they say you can't just go through the motions. That will not work. It will not work. Granted, there are some personal trainers that say half the battle is getting to the gym. I personally disagree with that. The reason is I'm not like an exceptionally fit person. However, I've gained, a lot of muscle mass from being extremely skinny to now being a bit less skinny. Probably over the last 10, 11 years, I've gained over 100 pounds of muscle. But that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't constantly trying to learn and constantly trying to push myself in the gym in ways that I knew if I had a weak area, I would focus in on it. I would say, okay, maybe I'm doing the motion wrong. And I would ask, I would look around, I would research it. I would get into different variations of a workout, of an exercise. If it's hamstrings, I remember I ran track and field in high school and I did pole vaulting. And I remember when the first time I was joining a public school sports team, we worked out. It was the off season for the football team, and most of them were required to join the track team as well and do something. So we would work out in the football field house, which was super cool. A lot of fun, right? Because you're out there by the football field. You got the track out there. It's the weight room. It has a mystique to it because it smells like the field house. You know what I mean? And yeah. I remember I couldn't even do a hamstring curl, lying hamstring curl. I think it was a 25-pound plate when I first started lifting. And I remember how embarrassing it was. Not really like embarrassing, but I knew I could do better. I remember lying down and just being really surprised that that's all I could do. Over time, that builds very quickly as those neuromuscular junctions develop and you get stronger mind-muscle connections. But my point is you have to actually do the work. You have to actually do the weight. You have to move your body, very slight variations. Doesn't take all that much weight. You just got to be really dedicated to doing every rep. I'm going to stop monologuing because I want to hear your thoughts on this and your expertise, Brandon.
Yeah, and you said an important word, variation, and that's something that goes along with going through those motions. If you keep the same motion over, if you do deadlifts 3 times a week for a month straight, and you at no point vary the type of deadlift you're doing. Are you varying the sets you're doing? Are you increasing the weight you're doing? Are you doing single leg deadlifts? Are you doing deadlifts from a platform? Whatever it may be, if you're going through that same motion over and over, then you're going to become good at that motion, hopefully. But the key is with fitness is to get better, faster, stronger with that motion as well. And that comes, like you said, with that variation, that's a part of it. And it's like that with anything you do, even with business, you will become good at one part of it, but businesses don't grow by doing the same thing at the same level over time. At some point, there has to be an increase in productivity. And so if you're doing deadlifts, 3 times a week, at some point, Are you focusing on your speed with the deadlifts? Are you focusing on increasing the weight with the deadlifts? Are you varying your stance? Are you going sumo to really get the most out of what you're doing? You have the motion down, okay, but let's increase that motion. Let's get the most out of what we're trying to get better at. So yeah, I think that's a great point. Going through the motion is part of it, but also that improvement within that motion.
So Brandon, let's get into your past in lifting, and then we'll get into a little bit about where you are now with personal training and being a race organizer, Bravo Beast. Tell a little about your journey in fitness and the exceptional journey that it has been for you.
Yeah, so kind of in short, good buddy of mine named Davey, he's a friend of mine since preschool, and he was like, hey, man, you should come work out with the football team. And I kind of brushed it off at first. I'm like, nah, I don't want to. I was working for Kroger at the time. This was, I guess, 10th grade or so. Next year came around and said, hey, man, come on, we're getting ready to start working out again for the next season. You should come and work out the team. I said, okay. So I started working out. This is something that I can definitely see the reward and the success from the hard work that goes into it. So I kept going from there, got to college. That's when I began to compete. I did my first competition my freshman year of college for powerlifting and won first place overall. And to me, I was kind of mind blown. I'm like, wow, that's great. But the even better part is it's something that I actually enjoy and that I'm passionate about. So from then I went on to win the first place overall all 4 years at Liberty University. But it came a point where I wanted to share my passion. After a while, people start to notice what you're doing, how you're doing it. They want to know how they can do it as well. And I'm always one that wants to help people. Don't just do as well as I'm doing, do better than I'm doing. And if you're good at something, you have a gift, a skill, or the knowledge to get them to where they should be, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to share that with them. So that's when my passion kind of grew to help others with it. I started designing programs for people, I'd say probably my junior year of college. And it's been a learning experience ever since then. When I graduated college, went to personal training full time that Monday after graduation, kept competing from there. And it kind of grew from that point on. And then as far as the race organization piece, that started as a project during one of my internships. And I was ordained the task of setting up a 5K. As we know, as you mentioned, I'm more so on the powerlifting aspect. It's rare that you find powerlifters that enjoy running. We do cardio because we have to make weight for meets. So I said, okay, and that's kind of a cool adventure. I like that. I like that it's something that involves fitness. It targets a different audience that I have been targeting before. So I said, well, how about I do an obstacle race? That way we're still get that lifting component tied in with that running. And I knew from my personal experience, I had ran a couple of 5Ks. I had done mud runs, and I liked seeing that distraction while I'm running. Something to kind of break up the course and doesn't make it seem as intimidating if you're not a big runner. So we called it the Bravo Beast 5K obstacle race. We did it. And I was terrified because I had not ran many races, nonetheless ever organized one before. And the thing about when you do these races are you have months and months and months of planning, but nothing really gets intense until about 2 weeks out. That's when everyone registers. That's when you see what you've missed. That's when you're counting your sponsorship money, making sure you have enough to make it happen. And when everyone takes off from that starting line, the same way a racer is nervous about the race, organizers are also. Because when you take off, typically we don't see everyone till they finish. So you don't know what kind of attitude, if they've enjoyed it. Hopefully there's no injuries. You know none of that until they cross that finish line. They crossed it, everyone loved it. I ended up moving to Raleigh, and people said, hey, I'd like to do it again. So I did it again last October. They enjoyed it again. So from there on out, we decided, let's make this an organization and let's vow to do these unique sort of 5Ks and athletic events. And that's what keeps us rolling with that. Just the creativity piece and the challenge of making it happen, all the organization that goes into it. And so that kind of explains that whole race organizer part of it.
Going into your powerlifting from high school into college, share some of your numbers, if you would, from the bench press specifically.
The number I can remember freshman year, the bench press was 320 at 168 pounds. Sophomore year, 365, I believe, at 172. Junior year, 385 at 176 body weight. Senior year was 405 at 180, I believe, body weight. And my best 403 bench press at 178. And that was for my first state record that I got in Virginia. The rest of the numbers I don't remember offhand. Typically, I competed right there under 181 in that weight class, 165, 181. I'm 5'8".
How tall are you? Oh, you're 5'8".
5'8". Yes. Right now I'm sitting at about 190 or so. But when I compete, I cut down to the low 180s, high 170s.
Right on. So I know you were disciplined as well. How much of it was genetics and how much of your lifting abilities are because of your drive and discipline?
I would say some of it is genetics, maybe 40% or so. I have three brothers, and my oldest brother, he's very active in the fitness, and he's a strong guy. I would say the other 60%, from what I could guess, would be drive and also willing to learn more about fitness, about exercise, and about science. And I had a family friend, he told me, I guess this is my senior year of college, he said, this is a gift, something that God has given you. And if you're not a Christian, you can still be gifted. You have a gift. But the point is, with whatever your gift is, your job from that point is just to maintain and improve that gift. And so that's what really took off in my mind. Okay, if it's genetics, whatever it may be, my job is to still maintain it. Because no matter what your gift is, if you don't put effort in keeping it, it's not going to grow. If you're a great gardener, you don't water your plants, your crops aren't going to grow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I took it into play from that.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, but talent that works hard is basically unbeatable.
Definitely.
Let's talk about the Bravo Beast 5K.
Yeah, so the one that we have coming up is going to be October 27th. It's back in Virginia at Greenfield Park. This one is a decade run. The proceeds are going to go to benefit the Addie Grace Foundation. Their mission is to build a all-inclusive playground in Botetourt County. So we're doing our due diligence to help them raise money for that. The theme of the race, again, is decades. So every half mile, the runners will run through a different decade in time. So we're going from the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, the 80s to current. So the 20s are going to kind of be that roaring 20s era. Then they're going to run through the 40s, which will kind of tackle, World War II, things of that nature. Then we'll get to the 60s, which of course is the hippie, free love era. From there, we're getting to the 80s. So bright colors, Run DMC, things that really show the 80s. And then we'll get into current, the takeoff of social media, selfies, big internet boom, different pieces of each generation to kind of symbolize it. Also, we're getting involved with local schools and colleges back in Roanoke to provide artwork for each decade. And we've also partnered with the Floyd Ward Dance Studio. They're going to provide different dancers for each decade as well. We have a couple of car clubs helping out to give us different cars from different generations. Food trucks will be there. And we're also doing a separate walkathon for participants with disabilities. So we wanted to make this, as all-inclusive as possible and as unique as possible. And from the research I've done so far, I have not seen where there's been another race done quite like this. So we're hoping this would be a very unique race and definitely the first of its kind in that area of Virginia.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge you for putting this race together, and it's not just you, right? You have a team, and is that correct?
Yeah, I have a partner. He was actually my intern back before I moved to Raleigh, so he's the co-founder of it. Then I have a couple people that help with the graphic design work. I also have an assistant that helps contact the different sponsors and kind of the footwork. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that from the few 5Ks I've done, you don't think about. Things like finding the most affordable T-shirts, the T-shirt design, how the logos will be placed, acquiring the logos from the different sponsors, establishing sponsorship level packets, and even just a blueprint of the race. I can't tell you how many times you have to go through the track planning everything out, making sure you have water, different stations, emergency plans. And, the biggest thing, no matter how much planning we do, is you don't know what the weather is going to be like until a couple of days before. With that, developing whatever your theme is and making sure that it can be acclimated for whatever weather conditions you may have as well. So it's an awesome team, and they've done great so far.
How do you put a team together and keep everything moving smoothly?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is finding like-minded people that share your vision. Some of the people that help with this are volunteers, and it's their craft. I have a lot of people that are good at graphic design and things of that nature, and they're willing to help. Maybe it's because I've written workouts for them in the past, at no cost. This is kind of a thank you for that kind of thing. But that's the first piece. As far as keeping everything on track, I have a little notebook that whenever I think of an idea, I write it down in that notebook. I run it by my co-founder. Hey, that's a good idea. No, that's a bad idea. Let's roll with it or not. For this race, this is the biggest race we've done. So what I'm doing is each month I send an email out to the different people that are helping. So I'll send an email out to the schools with the art programs. I'll send an email out to the dancers. I'll send an email out to the people bringing the cars. I'll send an email out to the food vendors. I'll send an email out to Botetourt County Parks and Rec just to make sure everyone is on one accord. I'll get that feedback. We compile it to kind of where we are. And then I pass that on to the charity or organization that we're helping, just to kind of keep them in the loop too. Hey, this is what we've got going on. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. As far as the sponsorships and the sponsors, that's an ongoing thing. We do have a deadline that we make for that because we have to place their logos on the race banner and the t-shirts. Again, a lot of it's just checking in, make a checklist. What are the goals for this month? What are the goals for next month? When do you need to have this done by? So just really staying organized with it. And, like I said, having a great co-founder like I have, Brady, helps a lot. And not being afraid to delegate tasks. One of my clients is a business coach, and we were discussing the website we're working on, and it should be done hopefully by the end of this week. But I told him, I'm working on making it myself. I want to be involved with it and understand how it works. And if something needs to be edited, how I can edit it myself without having to go through an additional resource. And he told me, he's like, I understand that, and that's great. He goes, but if you're overly hands-on in every part of your business, it won't grow but so much, because you're taking your time away from other things that you may be better at. And that made excellent sense. He said, look at Mark Zuckerberg, although he's on trial right now. He said, they ask him questions, and he honestly says, I don't know. And it's not because he's an idiot. It's because he may have 12,000 people working on that one part of the business.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah, so he doesn't need to be involved with every part of the business. So that's something I learned too. But, with it, it's just a lot of it's learning. A lot of it is just learning as you go and staying on top of it. And like my first quote was, just not being afraid of failure. There's things we've done that did not work, and you just keep going.
Yeah, you'll live to see tomorrow, Lord willing. It's, it works out.
Yeah.
Going into the first race, Brandon, share some of your nerves from the very first year. Share some of the race day nerves with my audience so they get a feel for what it's like to actually put something like this together. Regardless, you saw the fear, but you did it anyway, and I commend you for that.
I'll actually start with the day before the race, where I blew out 2 of my tires on my car driving to the race to set up.
Okay.
So race day, I couldn't even drive to the race. Luckily, my roommate at the time was helping with the race and, of course, was willing to drive me to the race the next day. So that kind of shook me up a bit. It's always small things you forget about. It was a last-minute thing that I forgot to get change for cash-paying participants day of. So I'm like, crap, somebody needs to go to the bank and get this change now so we can give change back, to the racers. But when you're so fogged up and thinking about the big things of the race, you forget that kind of thing. The biggest nerves were, of course, safety. The first race was an obstacle race, a trail race in a wooded area. We had like ATVs out there on the track going back and forth that some of the volunteers were driving, but I was back at the main pavilion. And of course, we all had our cell phones and said, hey, if something happens, let me know. There was a train that cuts through the track. So making sure our volunteers were at the track were doing their job to keep their eyes and their heads up on that to stop the racers if need be. So really just safety was the biggest thing. Also enjoyability. Like I said, I don't see them till they come back across the finish line. So I could have a whole slew of racers that hated that race, and I'm going to have to hear all about it when we come back. I had one of the volunteers call me, and it was 12 different stations, and the track was a figure 8. So one station may be used twice. So station 4 starting the race would be 8 coming back, if that makes sense. So he was at like number 8, and he called me 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes in the race, said, hey, people are coming back through 8. What should I do? I'm like, they've missed half the race and they're coming back around. But it's just that spur of the moment, and the lady that owned the property, she said, calm down, tell them a plan, redirect it, and they'll be good. And they flowed back through just fine. There was no issues. The racers didn't even notice it. Luckily, we had no injuries. Like I said, everyone enjoyed it. But, you're shaking up that whole time.
I'm going to jump into the Heart Healthy Hustle round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions based on the title of the show. So are you ready for the Heart Healthy Hustle round, Brandon?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, for the first category, it's heart. So what's your favorite activity for strengthening your character?
Honestly, practicing what I preach with exercise, and understand that's going to be relayed and perceived from my clients or those that are inspiring to get into training or those that may look up to what I do as far as fitness. Also, the willing to learn and to adapt. With fitness, with strengthening your character, you have to understand that you don't know it all, and there's always room to learn and grow. And you always need to adapt to the situation, be it clients, be it race organization. That is key to your success.
So for hustle, what's your main motivation for hustling to the max of your potential? One of the main reasons I invited you onto the show is because you're such a proactive young professional. You're doing things that a lot of people are not doing. So what is your main motivation for working so hard and remaining so driven?
Yeah, so a lot of it is just seeing what is the best that I can be. A lot of times we have situations in our life we're kind of unsure of, so we don't really give it 100% effort. But you don't really know the full outcome unless you give it, your effort. And even if you fail, you know that you gave it, max effort. So whatever it is that I want to achieve, I try to give it 100%. If that means staying up late, if that means waking up early, If that means, doing things during the day while I'm tired of making calls, just giving it 100% effort, and really just saying, what can the outcome be from that? Understanding that, I don't know, that's just how it has to be to succeed. Understanding that other people that are successful, that's what they had to do also. Even people that have inherited different things or whatever it may be. I would say 99% of people that are successful, or that 1%, gave 100% to get to where they are.
Couldn't agree more. I like asking, what's the alternative?
Say what now?
I said, I like asking myself, what's the alternative? There's no option.
Oh, yeah.
There's no option. That's a big trend I've been noticing with winners is there is no option B. You may have an option B where you keep executing on your goal, but there's no option in terms of will you work as hard as you can or as hard and smart as you can to achieve the best version of yourself. It's not an option.
Yeah, exactly. And what I noticed with a lot of successful people that I know, especially a lot of the business owners back in Lynchburg, was they weren't robots. Some were very smart, don't get me wrong, but they weren't all geniuses or non-human people. They just were willing to work harder, smarter, and more diligently than those around them. So again, giving that 100% effort, and it's rewarded. And some of it's because so many people will not give that 100%. So not to say that makes it easier for you, but that's just kind of a peace of mind knowing, if I'm in a room with 10 people, this is what I need to do. Most likely everyone in that room is not going to give 100% effort to get it done.
That's right. That's right. My listeners are sharp winners. Maybe they're struggling to integrate fitness into their daily lives or their daily routine, or they do fitness activities, or they do some exercise, but they know it's not quite enough, or they know it's not to the level that they would like it to be at. What are some things you would say to them if you were their personal trainer?
One of the biggest things to help is accountability. Yeah, I would tell them to find someone or a method of accountability, be it someone in person or someone distant, just someone they can check in with their eating, with their workout regimen. On top of that, it's just making a time for it to make it happen. If it has to be early morning that you're working out, it's going to suck at first, that first week or two, but just dedicate yourself to it. Pack your gym bag the night before, put it in your car. Take those excuses away from you that would inhibit you from reaching those goals that you want to get. Just making time for it and the accountability piece, I think, are two major keys with that.
Yeah, honestly, for me, the biggest thing is taking away the option of an excuse. If you're going to get up early to work out, taking away the alarm clock option, snoozing, taking away the option of, I don't want to get up because I don't feel like getting dressed. All your brain needs is a very small nudge to nudge you over the cliff of, well, I can get to it tomorrow. So if you don't have your exercise gear at the foot of your bed, I've actually heard of some people who sleep in their exercise gear and they wake up and they just jump out of bed and go because otherwise they know that their willpower in that situation will not afford them to get up and say no to the alarm clock snooze button, whatever that may be. So
yeah, definitely.
They equip themselves to even ahead of time. So they know they're going to win because they equip themselves ahead of time of the strategy. So they're literally outmaneuvering their own brain when they know their brain is going to try to sabotage their success. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're staying ahead of the manipulation. And, I even have told people something that I do after work out early in the morning is I'll pack my gym bag the night before. Sometimes I put it in my car. Sometimes I don't in case I'll forget something to put in it. But as far as my alarm clock, even for work, very, very rarely snooze my alarm unless I'm sleeping in. If it's not for that, I set my alarm to where if I miss it or if I were to snooze, it's going to cause me to be late. So when you see that happen in the morning, I have to get up. I know that I have maybe 30 seconds from this alarm to get up or I will be late for the day. That's something that's worked for me since college. And, some days it is rough to get up, but 9 times out of 10, that's the key for me.
Yeah, I like that. I've never heard it put that way. What are some of the biggest pitfalls you see? Some of your clientele, I'm sure, are people who are fairly successful in business. Maybe they just need that extra accountability. Let me ask you this. What do you like about personal training?
When I originally moved here, I wanted to still be able to cater to my clients back in Virginia. So that's what really got me started with that. From there, just kind of word of mouth delivered to people about how it's still effective, kind of how it was set up, how it was in video links with the exercises, the accountability piece, and also the affordability piece with it as well. So I just kind of took off from there. I like it because I can reach a broader audience. So it's not just people I see face to face, maybe a client in California, maybe someone in Florida, and maybe people back in Virginia. It could be people here in Carolina that just can't afford, what it may cost at the gym or our schedules don't align, but it just allows you to reach a broader audience of people. So I like that. Also the creativity piece. So kind of how it sets up is I take into account your goals, how many days per week you can work out, the gym equipment that you have access to, and then, of course, any injuries or limitations you may have. So from there, I've been able to pretty much create programs around any situation, be it just body weight, be a recovery. It could be someone that goes to a major gym. And it also sharpens my knowledge as well, because I had to think of ways to keep it simple but effective, exercises that I know they can do by following the videos and still do them correctly. And then just the different body types and goals you may have, the different diets they may have, getting better with nutrition, understanding nutrition, the way people eat. So it helps sharpen my knowledge as well.
One of my favorite questions, Brandon, at the end, I ask my guests to pretend that they were sitting down with their 20-year-old self for 60 seconds. And I say 20 for you because you are a younger guy. If the guest is, 30 and up, usually I'll go to 25. But if you had 60 seconds speaking to yourself in using those pronouns, what would you say to yourself? What would you tell them to do, or what would you tell them not to do? Or what would you say to 20-year-old Brandon Lewis?
So I would tell 20-year-old Brandon Lewis things to do: chase whatever it is you want with 100% effort. Give it your all. Don't lack off on it. If you do have opportunities or things that come your way that may seem given or easy, that doesn't mean that you need to give them less effort. I would tell 20-year-old Brandon Lewis to not get discouraged when facing challenging situations, and to also just to follow his heart with whatever it is he wants to do. A lot of times, and kind of taken away from just saying it to me, we listen to other people say, be it family, be it mentors, be it friends, and it's good to hear that. It's also good to understand that whatever you're being told and however you implement it in your life, you're the only one typically that's going to receive that outcome, be it good or bad. So I can give you advice that goes great and it works well for you. You still receive that awesome outcome. I can give you advice that I think is going to be great and it doesn't work out well. I'm still okay, but you're going to receive that negative outcome. So I would tell 20-year-old Brandon, just do what you're passionate about, follow your heart, and understand that you're the only one that's going to receive that consequence, be it good or bad.
I like how you put that. Whether it's good or bad, it's the consequence, and you're responsible for that consequence, and you alone. Letting that soak in a bit.
Yeah. When I moved down here, I took a job in management for Kroger for a little bit. And it was something that my parents just suggested, it's great, this and that, the pay, the benefits, which were all true, but I hated it. And so from that, I got to thinking, okay, well, when I'm driving to do this every day and I dislike it, my parents and other people that may have advised it, they're going on their life doing fine. I'm the one suffering from this, Oh, yeah. So whatever they're doing, it may not be your parents, it may be your friends, whatever they're doing, they're going to give you your advice. And then whatever they have going on in their life is going to stay the same. Their advice to you doesn't change their life. It's going to affect you. So when you wake up every morning going to this job that you may dislike, you're the one suffering from that, not the one that gave you the advice, or vice versa.
That's right. And at times there are times to buckle down and do things like that kind of work, right? But it does help as well if you know that that's not going to be the trajectory of your entire career. You may have an end goal in sight. And if you are required to be in a position like that, more power to you. Work at it with passion. I had a guest on here, Mark Sanborn, the author of The Fred Factor, and he talks about work at that, whatever you're doing, do it all with passion, Yep. So it will, though, for personality types such as myself, such as yourself, Brandon, it helps so much to have that end goal in sight. Because if you know in 4 months you're done there, you're going to be working somewhere else, you're going to be working for yourself, you're going to be putting on a race, you're going to be doing things that make a positive impact on the community that you live in. It really gives you that extra edge, that extra little push, that extra little nudge to get you passionate on the day when at that 4 p.m. time, whatever time you work, let's say you work 8 to 5 and 4 o'clock comes around, you just say, man, this last hour is taking its time. But then you think to yourself, the smiles of the people coming across the finish line at the Bravo Beast 5K, the gratitude that you'll receive when you positively impact your client that you're training, having that end goal in sight, that really can help push you through working a job that maybe you're working right now that you really believe that it is what you have to do at this very time in your life. So if you are struggling, you're working multiple jobs trying to make your business work, make sure you set a goal to where you got an ending date, more or less, and you have a trajectory that you are passionate about. And that will allow you to then work at your current job with passion. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
I would agree with that. And then if you're doing something that you don't really enjoy, know that it's not forever. However, you still want to give it 100%. So that way that when you get the chance to step out of that role and do what you're really passionate about, it's nothing to give that 100%. You're giving 110%, it doesn't seem outlandish because you've already given 100%. You already know what it's like to be disciplined. You already know what it's like to put in maybe the long hours, et cetera, et cetera. But now you're putting those long hours into something that you actually want to see come to fruition.
That being said, I'm getting jazzed right now. I don't know about you, but what's getting you out of bed? What's getting you out of bed in the morning now, Brandon?
Oh man, shoot! Seeing what I can achieve on my to-do list, whatever it may be, for the race. Seeing what improvements my clients have made, be it weight loss. If I think of a new exercise regimen that night, I can't wait to see, how they like this. How does it work for them? How can I format this? Those days I give a client a brand new exercise they've never seen before. I think, okay, how can I modify that? So just kind of seeing what the day is going to bring, what challenges it's going to bring, and having a plan with it as well. Especially, at the end of the month, if it's stuff we need to get done for the race, just waking up excited, knowing I've got a plan to get this done. This is going to happen this time. Let's see if, again, giving that 100%, will it work correctly? And knowing that I enjoy what I do on top of that. So it's not like really going to work. It's just you have to drive to work, but it's not like dreading,
Absolutely. And Brandon, I'm just really enjoying this conversation. If you would, just share 1 or 2 books that have really influenced you and why.
Yeah, so one of them is called Seeking Wisdom by Peter Belvin, and it compiles the thoughts of Howard Munger and Darwin. One is a economic guru, and the other one, of course, is Darwin with evolution. I'm not an evolutionist. It combines these 2 perspectives, kind of give you insight as to why people think the way that they think. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, it goes to things of, homosexuality. Are people born that way, or is it something that's adapted? Just kind of different norms and stuff, even to physics and mathematics. And it kind of helps you dig into the way that people's brains work. So that's one of my favorite books. Of course, the other one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of us have heard of that book. Just a good book to put in comparison. Do you want to take the corporate route of life forever where you're kind of limited? Or you're willing to put in the work to build your own dream and watch that grow, kind of seeing that the sky's the limit with that. So those are 2 of my favorite books currently.
You have a third?
Yeah, of course. Well, the Bible is the third. Should be first. Even if you're not a Christian, there's great tidbits of information in there just for life in general. My favorite verse in the Bible is Hebrews 13:5, which says, be content with what you have and not envious of others. For the Lord has said, never shall I leave you, never shall I forsake you. And to me, that's something that transpires well. I mean, I've never really been the jealous or envious type of other people. I think that people have what they have for a reason, or don't have what they don't have for a reason. But just knowing, as long as you know that, God has your back regardless, is kind of a comforting fact.
That's huge. Yeah. And I would recommend everybody, whether or not you are Christian or believe in the Bible, I challenge you to read through Proverbs and see if you can't get anything that benefits your life and business.
Oh.
Brandon, I appreciate you being on the show. I want to take a moment to acknowledge you, everything you're doing. You really are an inspirational guy. And when I get to run into you at the gym, I feel uplifted and enjoy your company and learning from you and your expertise in fitness. And I just want to acknowledge you for putting a team together and getting this Bravo Beast 5K set up. And I know that's not an easy task. And I don't know how many people express appreciation to you, but I look forward to supporting you into the future in that and all the other endeavors you're into. I know you are doing online training. You're dedicated to your clients. And so for anybody listening that's in the North Carolina, Virginia area who may want to participate in the obstacle course this year, go ahead and share some details about that and how they can be a part of it.
So you can follow us on Instagram at Bravo Beast 4. We post different pictures and stuff of past events and videos, also information for upcoming races as far as flyers, registration links. We also have a Facebook page. It's just called Bravo Beast. Again, kind of that same concept, pictures, flyers. If we have fundraiser events, different sponsorship information, that's posted on there as well. And you can also contact me at brandon.bravobeast@gmail.com. And I'd love to share more information with you about the race as well.
Awesome, Brandon. Well, this has been a really enjoyable interview, and I appreciate your time being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you doing this too. Also following something you're passionate about and allowing others to share their passion. It's a great outlet. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I want to say thank you. And also, I want you to ask yourself why. What about this episode really stood out to you? I want to challenge you to take action on that thing. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate your time and consideration to go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes. So it really helps the podcast grow and we can impact even more people who need this. Thank you guys for all of your support, and I will see you in the next episode.